3, 2, 1. Hi, I'm Nivedita, and today in conversation with me is someone who has experience in counterinsurgency, in peacekeeping operations. He's known for his organizational skills. He's the director of special projects at the Indus Trust, and as such has set up the Indus International Schools in Bangalore, Hyderabad, Pune, and now adding Belgaum and Chennai as well. He's a trained trainer. He has certification from Project Adventure, USA, a certified executive coach from International Coaching Federation as exceptional sportsperson. He has represented India in badminton. He has been instrumental in establishing the Indus School of Leadership, and several hundreds of students and teachers across country have benefited from this very specially created space and program. My guest for today's episode is Lieutenant Colonel Sathya Rao. Thanks for joining us, Colonel.
Thank you, Nivedita. I'm privileged to be part of this discussion. Thank you.
So, Colonel Rao, the schools in the current situation have done a very quick shift to online learning. All your schools have made a relatively smooth transition. Both students and staff did not, I think, had much issues of device, accessibility, ease of use. You have much trained staff, and a lot of your learning was with use of technology and digital learning already. But my question is about your Leadership Institute. Indus, as it is, it's known for experiential learning, and Leadership Institute is very physical. It's team building, it's outdoors, it's very hands-on, it's actually like climbing up and jumping down. And how has that setup and thought process responded to this current situation?
Right. So that's a great question you asked me. Well, as I believe in, leadership and learning are indispensable to each other, right? What John Kennedy mentioned long back. The leadership development philosophy at Indus School of Leadership is based on acquiring the ability to lead oneself and then others. So in the last 10 years, having set up the leadership school, we've practiced experiential learning and self-awareness. So the students would come there as part of the adventure and then would seek their challenges and their strengths. Another important thing, what I focused mainly on was the reflection part. Reflection was one aspect which is very important, and where students, understand what is that, their strengths are in. So this is what we were going on with our leadership school. And with this pandemic, we had to rethink, come up with a new system altogether. How do we develop something, where the learning and the leadership is continuous? So I looked at some of the leadership competencies, because everything boils down to leadership competencies, whether it's experiential learning, whether it is, So what we have realized is, from the army days, we always, get into these crucible experiences. And these crucible experiences help us in a way to understand ourselves better and then develop on ourselves. But in today's environment, it's very difficult for students to get into these crucible experiences. So the only way experiential learning is possible is through adventure. And that is how we started the adventure experiential learning. And so they would then go through these out of the comfort zone and get into the stretch zone and then reflect on it. So with this pandemic, what I realized was, is there a way that we could work on an online program where we can see how students understand leadership competencies? So we developed certain modules on the basis of concepts. Okay. So we derived concepts out of, like example, even in academics, if a topic is taught and if the teacher, delivers the concept in such a very simple format, students pick it up very quickly and understand the entire topic. So I realized there are certain modules, certain topics on leadership competencies which are very, very important for a lifelong journey. It's not like, it's a stopgap or something. if you understand these topics or the sessions on leadership competencies, I think as you grow in life, these will stand good. So that is the reason why I've developed certain of modules as part of the sessions. And we had done a lot of research on these competencies, and then we conducted various trials on almost 200 to 300 students and 100 teachers, and we saw an overwhelming response in that 1 hour of session per 1 hour for the session. It came out so beautifully that I will dwell on it a little further. Okay, now let me just go through what are the types of leadership competencies we develop for our students at Indus. And we have been conducting this on a regular basis since last 1 month now. The first competency is nonlinear thinking.
Okay.
See, the reason why nonlinear thinking is important is we are set into preconditioned thinking patterns. Every student has their own, set patterns of thinking, step by step. So these non-linear thinking creates an expansion in multiple directions. You think, your random thoughts come in, you put them all together, and then you formulate them into another focus. So what has happened? It also helps with imagination. When you think non-linear thinking, what happens is you start imagination. You come up with certain ideas which keep building up, and you look at a fresh view of solutions. You see, rather than going back to the way it was developed, the way it was formulated. So these fresh ideas will bring in a new solutions.
Right.
And that's how we have brought this up. And under this non-linear thinking, we have developed 3 sessions. One session is the art of asking open-ended questions. Because many of our students, hesitate in answering or asking questions. They basically look at the closed-ended questions.
Right.
Where there is an answer for 1 word or 2 words.
Right.
But if you develop an art of asking open-ended questions, the discussions move further and the dialogue takes place.
Right.
Between, and more ideas, are generated.
Right.
The second session under this is brainstorming. Brainstorming is another aspect where, you can get ideas from all over in a very short span, and then you could work on it, bringing out the best idea out of that. And the third aspect on the session of this nonlinear is the mind mapping. We all do mind mapping. And mind mapping helps in formulating, again, the random thoughts coming in here and there, and then, building on them.
Right.
So this is the one module which we found students, very important for understanding and thinking, on these nonlinear. The second module which we have discussed and designed is, how do I find purpose? I know it's a very deep question, but I think, like I said, understanding your inner world and outer world is very important. And what is that dissonance creates within you when there is a big gap between the inner world of you and the outer world. So that is what leads to purpose. There is a divine dissatisfaction. Once that is created within you, then you start asking yourself, So this session is very well designed, and it has, this module has 3 sessions. So the first session is on higher purpose. And under that, we generally want to know and ask oneself, what issue matters to me most regarding my world? And that is the first question which we ask, anyone, whether a student or a teacher.
Wow.
To bring in. The second question I would like to say is, why does that issue matter to you? There has to be some reason. And lastly, what do I do? What can I do with it? What action can I take? So that is how, when you deeply think about it and observe on these questions and reflect on them, I'm sure there's going to be a trigger somewhere, and you would make a difference in the society and the environment around you. So I know many of them would say, isn't it very difficult for people to find one's purpose, especially at a young age?
Yeah.
But I would negate that and say, purpose can be triggered at any age. There is no particular age. It can happen at any age.
Right.
So the most important is, how does empathy develop? So if you can develop empathy within you, and for others, I think dissonance, like I said, is created. So I'm sure most of the viewers and you understand the word tikkun ulam.
Yes.
It's the Hebrew word,
Yes.
which means repair the world.
Yes.
So that is how we would like the students to understand at the young age, what is that they can do. See, the purpose can be as small as possible. But if you are on the right path and you know what your purpose is for living, is there a meaning to life? And these things keep you on track. Purpose keeps you on track. And if one derives purpose in life, I think it's very easy to get your vision correct. And once your vision is correct, I think you can set your goals. Yeah, it will take time. I'm sure it will take time. And having set smaller goals, short-term goals, move to long-term goals,
right.
And I'm sure someday we will get to the vision. And for example, even if you don't reach your vision, the journey itself is a goal, isn't it?
Right.
The journey itself is.
Yeah. I can even imagine that for young minds, the earlier the search for purpose and the earlier the quest to contribute to the world comes. That is something also I see that the next generation, the Gen Z as we call them, it's a very, very interestingly intense generation. I mean,
true.
There's something that our generation has done right, besides many other things that we didn't do right, is that have a whole generation. Yes, this whole generation think. There is a generation of thinkers, and if we can facilitate the process of finding purpose and actually heal the world, I think what can be a greater objective of an educational institution?
Yes.
I think somewhere education institutions, as we have lost the sight of what present can do for future. We are either only looking at future or only looking at very short-sighted present. So this looks like a very interesting bridge. So what age group of children, how long does it, what is the format of this session?
Okay, so this we have designed for grade 6 to grade 12.
Okay.
As young as grade 6 students. What happens is, we have used a number of tools, technology tools like videos, energizers, activities, animations, and a simple step-by-step process.
Okay.
So we have the idea is if they understand the concept, if they understand the concept, how you can derive your purpose, I think rest all falls in its place as you grow in life.
Right.
It has to trigger you, somewhere, and that's what we want. We want to initiate that trigger in some form, and that's how we started this. And also, when I look at understanding purpose, you have to look within your close environment to start with. There are so many issues. We just go blind for many of the things. We just read and forget about it, or we see and forget about it. But I think if you reflect and dwell on this as to why this has happened, what is that I could do? Like I said, those 3 questions. If you ask yourself, I think that will somewhere initiate the dialogue or thinking. And I also believe that today's generation, like you said, they're all thinkers, and they are so aware of so many things.
Right.
They're so. See, if you still remember when I was joining college, I had to ask my parents, which college do I go to? Where do I someone going to accompany me?
Yes.
But today they decide the future. They decide which college or which university they want to go.
Right.
So that is how these, and the feedback what I've received from the students is excellent. The way they spoke, the way they articulated on these modules, it has been. And the best part of it is every student goes through a concept map. You see, when you understand the session well, you have to prepare a concept map, understanding the entire model, the topic on higher purpose.
Right.
Okay. So that has been a great achievement as of now. Yeah. So that was the second thing on purpose, which was very, very important, and we really did well on that. The third module, which I would say is the need of the hour, is innovation. We all are stuck in this crisis. And if we don't innovate and come up with new ideas how to get out of this situation,
Right.
What is that we need to? So innovation plays a very important role in leadership.
Right.
Now, under the innovation, we have various sessions we have created, especially on empathy and critical thinking, because that is one thing where students must, build in themselves, to be empathetic to the environment, to the empathy to the people. And then is critical thinking. You have to have this competency of critical thinking.
Right.
So how do you develop that? So knowledge about the issue, you should have a great adequate knowledge about it. You have to have a comprehension, the understanding the situation, how to analyze. So these are all the way you can develop on it. You have synthesizes, decision making, all this part of it. And then finally, of course, how you take actions. So that was one session. The second session was on collaboration and creativity.
Okay.
So this is another very important section under innovation, where unless you collaborate, new ideas cannot come in. And you need to share ideas.
Right.
And with students, it is very difficult for one individual to, think on those ideas and not derive. But if you, as a peer learning, and collaborate with,
Right.
various people, I think ideas will formulate.
Right.
Yeah. And creativity is, of course, where we see our young children, there's so much creativity in them. I think this is another build-up for innovation. The third session on innovation is entrepreneurial skills.
Okay.
See, like I always say, every leader may not be an entrepreneur, but every entrepreneur is a leader. Because leadership skills in today's times, is the order of the day.
Right.
Unless you don't have those skills, because these skills encompass a lot of things, financial, resource management,
Yes.
Everything that is required in the environment. So this is the most important thing for innovation. So you have to develop an entrepreneurial mindset. Yeah.
Right.
And that is where our students need to work on this.
Right.
So this has been another great module which we've designed. And how do we develop this? Again, we have to have a risk-taking. Risk-taking is one of the important things in every entrepreneur takes a risk. Then he has to accept challenges. And you got to seek opportunities. Like, for example, in this pandemic, so many new products have come up.
Yes.
People have been coming up with new designs and ideas. It is so good. Take for example, the mask itself.
Yes.
Yeah, the mask itself. How many types and varieties of masks have come now?
Yes.
Yeah. So this is a new way of looking at startups, new enterprise.
Yes.
Yeah. And for this you got to have a high sense of imagination. I feel that this is one skill of imagination where you can develop great ideas, and a deep sense of purpose. And you have to understand what is the purpose behind all this. So this is how we have developed these three modules for every student to go through. And the last is on wellness. Wellness is another module which we have looked at, because we have found students, adults going through some sort of an anxiety.
Right.
Because they're being locked up in their houses, they can't move out due to restrictions. So anxiety builds up, and especially in students. And students have this great understanding that social get-together is the only alternative for happiness. When they meet their friends, when they come to school, so it's not academic, but it's social get-together.
I completely agree with that. Yeah, especially the age group that you're addressing, the teenagers, they need more peer interaction than any other age group.
Absolutely.
So, so they while the younger children can still be all right in a nurture environment of the parent, but the middle school and the senior school are in, big, very anxious because they thrive with peer interactions.
That's right. That's right. So what we did, we designed a session on this psychological immunity again under stress and isolation.
Okay.
Yeah. So how do we cope up with the stress? How do we cope up with the isolation? So there are a number of points which we brought out in this session, like for example, how to pursue a worthy goal.
Okay.
You can have a goal for it and keep yourself occupied. You need to share and care. You need to connect with people online.
Right.
Yeah. So that will help you to move forward. Then you got to practice self-empathy within you.
Oh yes.
Self-empathy is very important. Which we all lack.
Yeah, we completely forget about it.
Yeah, we forget about it. And then is mindfulness.
Yes.
We must practice mindfulness. Can't be in the past and say this happened and this is how I've been.
Right.
And then build optimism. You have to build optimism. Surround yourself with the positive people. So this is how we have developed these sessions, finding a hobby or a skill which you can develop during this pandemic times. The people have taken up online music, online art.
Right.
So these are the things which you need to keep yourself engaged.
Right.
So we have taught concepts in such a simple format that it just gets into their minds, and then they start reflecting on it.
Okay.
So these are the 4 modules for this session I have designed, and my team and self, and it's come out. It's been a great changeover. I wouldn't say that it's a substitute for leadership development, but it's definitely an alternative.
Right.
For leadership development training.
So do you think you will continue this post-pandemic era as well? Because it just sounds very accessible,
Yeah, you see, what we will do is, though once normalcy sets in, we will definitely go back to the experiential link. However, we are going to continue these online, because what we've realized, and we've received a good feedback from parents. We've also conducted for parents some of these modules, and they were quite surprised as to how they started reflecting, saying, "I've never thought about these questions before in my life." Age is not a factor which it limits anything.
Yes.
You can at any age decide to do what you want to do. Yeah. So we will do that, and we will also open to any schools or any students, a group of students who wish to we asked to conduct these sessions. We'll definitely do that.
That sounds great. So what I will do is, after we finish this session, I will take the details from you and link it in this video, so people can access it, because this is coming from a school which understands physical learning, which understands experiential learning, which excels in leadership capabilities, building leadership capabilities in young children, whether in the Indus International School or your community school. So it understands across demographics. It understands the human abilities and aspirations, and can connect with the children and parents alike. Actually, I'm getting myself quite motivated to attend one of your sessions.
Sure, definitely. Whenever you're free, you're most welcome to.
Lovely, that sounds lovely. So thank you very much, Col Rao, for joining us, and with wishing you all the best to you and your team for this session. I think your sessions will go a long way in working with our children, teachers, and parents, or the Holy Trinity of education.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for inviting me for this discussion.
Thank you.